Alright, so I know this is kind of a weird thing to do, but I'm gonna make a Sprunki theory. Specifically on the character. Yep. Yeah, I'm gonna make Mr. Tree, I'm gonna make a theory on today. So I think a lot of you know Mr. Tree, specifically how least favourite character in Sprunki. Literally. So I feel like we probably know that, Mr. Tree's actually I don't even know why Yanko plays her. But you see, there's something quite weird about Mr. Tree, to be honest, and it's pretty dark. So if you want to leave, go now. So, okay, you all know the horror version, right? Yeah, Black commits terrorism. People like Jevon are fine. Look at the Mr. Trees. Missing. So, like, there's a little girl that's missing. And at first, it doesn't really seem like much. But then you realise that this is kind of dark. And this theory's gonna go in a drastically dark turn. So, if you want to leave, go now. So this theory is gonna get a bit dark. So you might as well leave, unless if you want to get your memory traumatized and never think of the character Mr. Tree the same way. Okay, well not really. I don't think that will happen, but still, it's pretty dark. So some of you might be asking, how is the tree sentient? I know this is a bit weird. I mean, Mr. Sun kind of makes sense to be sentient. I mean, yeah, Mr. Sun has a reason to be sentient, because, it's kind of fair, to be honest. So, while it makes sense for Mr. Sun and Fun Computer to be sentient, Mr. Tree is confusing, because no one really knows why he's sentient. Until now. I'm gonna figure it out. And it doesn't. So the missing. So we're gonna talk about how the missing goes missing. I'm also gonna tell him why Mr. Tree's sentient. So let me just explain this straight. I think the little girl that was, missing was actually murdered and actually got stuffed inside of the tree. I know it sounds very weird, and some of you might be saying, how are you going to stuff a little girl inside of a tree? Well, yeah, sometimes trees have holes, and sometimes squirrels can go in them. So maybe someone was big enough. So maybe one of the holes was big enough to stuff the little girl in, and stuff the little girl's corpse in. Or, and more violently, tear all of her limbs apart. To put inside of the tree. Or it could be on top of the leaves, and we don't see it. So the little girl was murdered and stuffed inside of the tree. But who did it, if to be honest? Alright, these are all the candidates that I think murdered the little girl that we know, and the little girl was put inside of the tree. So who did it? So some of you may be surprised, but I don't think Wenda did it. Sure, Wenda is a psychopath, but to be fair, at least she's nice to some people like Gray, and maybe perhaps Oren and Pinky. Oh wait, no, why would Wenda? Again, I don't think it's her. I don't think Wax is a murderer either, because I don't really think he would just do that. He's too crazy. I mean, sure, he killed Ratty in a gruesome way, but I don't think Gray or Durple all did it either, because they're too chill to do it. And I feel like you can actually make friends with the infected Durple. So now it's these three. I know technically Jevon killed Oren, but I don't think Jevon killed the little girl. So either Raddy and Tunna did it, And I personally think the murderer is Tunna. I know you may be asking, why the hell would Tunna do such a thing? Well, why is Tunna a sheriff? Like, we know that Tunna's innocent, but we don't know entirely of his backstory. And to be honest, no one really knows. And to be honest, no one knows. So why do you think Tunna killed the little child and got put inside of the tree? Well, I have a feeling that Tunna accidentally mistook the little girl as some kind of rabid wolf or something. So her footsteps sort of sounded like a wolf. I know it sounds weird, but still, Tunna shot the little girl and realized it was a child. Tunna would probably be afraid for his life because he's supposed to be innocent. So what did he do? He decided to rip off all the girl's limbs and stuff it inside of the tree, so no one would know. And now, let me answer this. Why is Mr. Tree sentient? I have a theory that the little girl that got murdered actually took control of the tree that she murdered. And the child was... and when the child was inside of the tree, once Black started his terror shrine, he put a missing sign in front of Mr. Tree's face to remind Tunna of what he'd done. The only people that would probably know his murder is Black and Jevin. Black probably told Jevin, since, they're besties, and that's probably why Jevin's all, doesn't even give a frick. And Mr. Tree was, stuffed inside of the tree. And the thing is, Mr. Tree the little girl that was controlling Mr. Tree doesn't know what happened. Now, some of you might be saying, wait a second, how come it was a little girl that was murdered, but it's canon that Mr. Tree's canonically a male? Well, I feel... Actually, to be honest, I actually have no idea. It could just because... Maybe it could be, binary things, or maybe... But... yeah. Or maybe, technically, Mr. Tree can technically not have a gender, considering that Mr. Tree was, a tree, so why would the tree have a gender? So actually, technically, he doesn't have a gender. This probably happened at night, so Mr. Sun didn't see it. And... So Mr. Sun was, and it was probably, and Jesus Christ, I can't even. At the accident, and it was probably nighttime, because I don't think Tunna would kill a little girl in public in front of, Veneria and Grey or something, and since it was midnight, Mr. Sun wasn't there. It was the moon, and there's no canonical moon guy that's sentient. So yeah. So in reality, Mr. Tree's. So, and since there's a missing sign on Mr. Tree, he's either dead or is suffocating on it. So I know my viewers might be saying, wait, how come Raddy didn't and kill him? Well, I don't think. Well, I mean, Raddy is the rudest character, at least in the main cast. Black is an exception, and I don't really think Rad would kill just the child at the age of 7. So I know Raddy's a jerk, but you probably want to do murder. Sure, he did hit a wax in the hammer with a head, but to be fair, it was probably because he was getting on his nerves. And that's probably the end of my Mr. Tree theory. You may never think of him the same again. Alright, so I'm probably gonna rank this theory, because to be honest, I feel like I'm just gonna do what Alex Bale did and just put a tier list. So I probably rank Mr. Tree as like a really good theory. To be honest, there is a lot of evidence that shows that Mr. Tree could have gotten that, the little child could have gone killed. I know Tunner might be a weird option, and felt like he kills an option that was just pulled out of Uranus, but still, I feel like it's a pretty good theory. Some of you could change who murdered him. For example, some of you could change. So, for example, you could say that's like Gray accidentally killed a little girl. But I highly think that Tunner was the one that murdered him. Because why would Tunner become a sheriff? He probably did it because, as he would save the others, but accidentally kill one. So I rank this as a really good theory. I feel like it could be canon, and I could actually get proven by Nyanko at some point. But for now, it's not proven. But still, this is a really good theory.